In this video, I'm going to show you 3 different ways to separate a subject from a dark background in the studio.
Adorama TV presents Take and Make Great Photography with Gavin Hoey.
Hello, I'm Gavin Hoey and you're watching Adorama TV, brought to you by Adorama, the camera store that has everything for us photographers. And once again, you join me in my small home studio. This video is all about separation lights, and I'll explain that in just a minute. But first of all, let me introduce Fern. Say hello, Fern.
Hello.
She's going to be the model for today, and we're going to do dark backgrounds. That's where separation lights really come in. So we're going to be shooting against my grey background, but you might be using a black background. Anything that is quite dark can give you problems that may require separation. But first of all, let's just take a picture with one single key light. This is my favourite single light setup, and I'll show you why a separation light could be really important. First thing to do, of course, is the meter for the light. So I've got my flash meter, pop it underneath Fern's chin, pointing at the light. It tells me f5.6. So that's the aperture I'm going to dial into my camera. Let's take a shot. Okay, Fern, here we go. Wonderful, and one more. Perfect. We get a lovely lit portrait. It's correctly exposed. Fern looks amazing, but the shadow parts of the picture really disappear into the shadows. That black background is recording very, very dark, even though in fact it's grey. But of course, with this lighting setup, not much light reaches it, so it's coming out much darker than you see it on the video. So how do we stop Fern disappearing into the black? Well, that's where the separation light comes in. So I've got a second light here. Now there's a few ways you can do this. In fact, there are many ways that you can do this. I'm going to show you 2. First one is simply to use the separation light as a hair light. So if I get my light set up, and we'll put it a little bit higher maybe, like that, so it comes down from above. And I've got a nice little feature here with the streak light that I can actually turn on a small lamp at the front, which will allow me to see where this light is going. It's a little bit like a laser pointer. I can make sure that it hits Fern's head. If you're using full-size studio lights, of course, you might have a modelling light in there, but with these smaller streak lights, that little thing could be a real time saver. Okay, so let's take a shot like that with our second light in place. Here we go. And again, lovely. Fantastic. So as you can see, we get a hair light that illuminates Fern's hair. That really does make her stand out from the background and gives a much more dramatic look to the shot. Now that might be exactly what you want. If it is, brilliant, stop there. But there's another way you could use a second light. That is, rather than lighting Fern, we could use the second light to light the background. So let's bring the light down and we'll change the angle. Once again, I can use the fact that it has this little built-in red spot, which you may not see in the video because these video lights are pretty bright, but I can use that to make sure that the center of my light hits straight behind Fern's head. And we'll take a shot like that. Now what should happen is that light lights the background, the key light lights Fern's face. Let's see how it goes. Here we go. Wonderful. And again. Perfect. As you can see, we have a great light in the background, a little splash of light back there. Now remember, this is adjustable. It is on whatever power it just happened to be on. I didn't change it, I didn't meter it. But reviewing the pictures, I can make an educated decision. So is that light too big, too bright? If it is, I can make it brighter or darker. I think maybe it's a little bit dim. Let's make it a bit brighter. One of the nice things about the streak light is I can increase the power from here on the remote. So 1, 2, 3 clicks. That's one more stop of light from our background light. Okay, let's try that again. Here we go. Fabulous. As you can see, a much bigger spot of light, much more dramatic background light. The choice is yours. You could even add a gel onto here and gel that background. Now, if you want to find out more about gels and how they can be used, don't forget to check out my previous video, which you'll find on the Adorama Learning Center. So what if you don't have a second light? What if you only have one light? Can you still get separation? So you can, but it's a little bit different than using 2 lights. So let's just change things around and we'll set that up right now. So now we're just down to a single light. And although we can't get the same effect that we had with 2 lights, we can still get quite a good effect with just a small adjustment in the setup. And my small adjustment is to ask Fern to step back so you're against the background. Now it does help to have a background that really works for you. So if you have a cloth background, you want to make sure that it's perfectly smooth and wrinkle free, or you do what I do and have a background that's very wrinkly and use that. So this has got a great little texture. Because I need to bring the light back towards Fern, like so, I've also brought it back towards the background. So any little wrinkles and textures in the background will be shown in the picture. But what will happen now is our key light will light both the background and Fern at the same time. And in effect, we'll have a separation. That background won't go black because one light is lighting two things. Okay, we need to remeter for the light. Anytime you move the light from the model or vice versa, you need to actually remeter. So let's just take a meter reading here. And our meter reading is exactly the same because although I move the light, the relative distance remains stable. So f5.6 again. Let's just take some shots and see how this looks. Okay, are you ready, Fern? Here we go. Perfect, fantastic. Wow, that was really great fun. Did you enjoy that?
I really did.
Brilliant shoot, and 3 very different looks to get separation from your model and the background. Now all I need to do is to get my favourite picture into Photoshop and do a quick edit, and we're going to do that right now. Don't forget to check out Adorama's latest contest and your chance to win amazing prizes. In an ideal world, getting your lights right means that you do relatively little work inside of Photoshop because you nail the shot in camera. And that's always what we're trying to achieve. In this case, I'm almost there. I've almost got it absolutely correct. But of course, there's always a bit of Photoshop to do. Now, of the 3 different separation lights, the one that I think needed the most work was the single one light setup. And I guess that's not too surprising. Having said that, it was also the one that I enjoyed the most from the final picture set. So let's have a little look and see what I did. So this is the picture, and as you can see, it's almost right. I'm kind of happy with it. There's only a couple of things I want to change. First of all, we've got Fern here with lovely pale skin, lovely red hair, and I want to emphasize those features. Then there is this kind of black blob here, and I'll talk about that in just a second. So let's do the skin tones and hair color. Now there's plenty of ways I could do this, but I'm going to jump over to the HSL stroke grayscale. Now I want to find out what Fern's skin colour is. I'm guessing it's almost certainly orange, it tends to be, but if you're not quite sure, just grab the slider of your choice and throw it from one side to the other. And I mean really throw it around. Do remember that raw is totally non-destructive, so you can move this all day long and it won't have any permanent lasting damage. Now in this case I don't want to go crazy, I just want to brighten up the skin tones by taking away some of the saturation from the skin. Obviously I could also change the luminance and the hue if I needed to. I also want to make the reds a little bit more poppy as well, so let's make the red hair colour a little bit brighter by increasing the saturation on the reds. Now the end result shouldn't be enormous, it should be a subtle shift, but a shift nonetheless. Right, I'm happy with that. Let's come out of RAW and into Photoshop. So what is that mystery black blob? Well, it's actually my softbox, because when you're shooting in a small home studio, you don't have the luxury of space where you can push things right to the edges. You're always dealing with a small space and some of the restrictions that gives you. In the case of things like softboxes and lighting, occasionally you'll find the light stands might creep in or the corner of a softbox might get in the shot because you're looking for that slightly wider view. That's where Photoshop can really come in handy and allow you just to make your small studio feel a little bit bigger. Let's have a look. So to remove this, I could use any of Photoshop's many tools, but the one I'm going to use is hidden away underneath the spot healing tool, and it's called the patch tool. It's a great tool for patching large areas such as this in the corner here. All I need to do is draw a rough, and I do mean loose, selection around the object you want to remove, and then you can just drag that and you can see that I get a preview, and that's why I like this patch tool, because you can try and match up the colors and textures to whatever you want. and I reckon about there looks good, so we'll patch it there. Now I'm just going to hide the marching ants, so I'll just press Control H or Command H, and you can see that's a pretty good match, although it does look a little bit light in this corner. Well, now I can use the new features of Photoshop CC 2014, and I can just change my color settings here, and I can increase my color settings and ask it to think again about that area and maybe patch it a little bit differently. That looks pretty good. But it is lacking a bit of texture. It needs a bit more texture in there, and that's where the structure slider comes in. I can just add a bit more structure in there, and again it'll have a little think about that, and it'll put a bit more structure in like so. Okay, so let's get rid of the marching ants, because we don't need those anymore. So there we go. There is my final picture, all patched and all color corrected and all done in just a few minutes. Now, if you've enjoyed this video and you want to see more videos from myself and the other amazing presenters here on Adorama TV, you know what you've got to do? You've got to be clicking on the subscribe button. I'm Gavin Hoey. Thanks for watching.
Do you want great looking prints at low cost? Be sure to visit our easy to use online printing service. Adorama Pix has professionals who treat your images with the utmost care that you can count on. For a quick turnaround on photos, cards, or albums, use AdoramaPix.com.